Hey, welcome to Keep On Pushing TV. Yeah, man, I am your host, Devon Harris. And as always, our mission hasn't changed. We want to share ideas that are going to inspire you and challenge you to keep on pushing and live your absolute best life. So if that's something you're interested in, because we want that for you and of you and for you, and if you're interested in it, then you know you're in the right place. So again, welcome to Keep On Pushing TV. My guest today is an author of 2 books with a 3rd one on the way. He loves reading books. He loves playing and watching soccer. He loves sailing and sailboat racing, traveling with his family, and most importantly, he loves spending time with his wife and son. He's a retirement income certified professional, and so his favorite subject to speak about is retirement income. He helps individuals, couples, and business owners to create lifetime income streams from their retirement investments. He shows them techniques that may help them, as he puts it, retire as you desire, and hence live a lifestyle that you have always dreamed about in retirement. And so I'm really excited, looking forward to chatting with William Bloom. William, welcome to Keep On Pushing.
Devon, thank you so much. I'm so grateful to be here and to share our stories with everyone.
Absolutely, man. So you love playing soccer, you love sailing, love traveling. So it seems like you're an outdoors kind of guy.
I just love being active. It's so good for your brain. It's good for your heart. It's good for your body. And it just gives me a lot of positive energy. So in the mornings, I like to go run. I still play soccer with a group of guys on Monday nights. And even during this pandemic, the sailboat racing season hasn't really happened, but hopefully next year we'll be able to get back out on the water.
Indeed, indeed. So talk to me a little bit about the early years of Bill Bloom. Where did you grow up? What was life like as a child?
Yeah, life as a child when we grew up in the southwest suburbs of Chicago. So about 35, 45 minutes right outside the city. And life was, pretty normal, as I would say. We would play sports as a kid, go to school, and then do more sports. And we were always outside running around, doing something. We were very active as kids.
Mm-hmm. So when you were, I don't know, 8, 10, 12, and you kind of pictured yourself 20, 30 years down the road, what did you see yourself doing?
When I was that young, I wanted to be a baseball player. I loved playing baseball. That was such a huge passion for me as a kid. But I also realized when I was younger that I sort of was developing like a business mindset, an entrepreneurial mindset that wasn't talked about 30 years ago when we were younger. But I always liked to work at the concession stand so that I could have money to get baseball cards. And I knew that some were rarer than others. So I always had sort of a knack for figuring out different ways to make money, especially as a young kid.
So was it just that you wanted to be able to buy stuff for yourself? Is that why you feel kind of created this entrepreneurial mindset?
I think it was more about independence. I realized that everyone around us, and this is not a bad thing, but everyone worked for companies. And when times were bad, times were tough for people. And when times were good, things were just kind of normal. But I realized at a young age that I wanted to have more flexibility and more freedoms with my time, because I realized our time was so incredibly valuable. And I still think that to this day.
Mm. So you are of the mindset then that we should, for want of a better term, be in charge of our own destiny.
Absolutely. I mean, my thought process is, Devon, that we all have unique abilities. We all have things that we are really good at doing, probably 3 to 5 of them maximum. And I really believe that we should be doing those 3 to 5 things daily, that because it gives us energy. It's things that we're good at. So if we were all in our unique abilities, doing the things that we're really great at, we would have a lot more innovation, a lot more companies. I think we would be in a much more robust times. Even though technology has helped, I think we could be even further along.
I so agree with you. I'm feeling that, but I find that most people probably feel that there's nothing they're good at. What do you think is the issue? Why do you think most people don't spend the time to figure out, hey, this is a thing that I'm good at and that I'm actually better at than this other person who is an amazing person?
Right, right. I think it comes down to a couple of things. Number one would be most people don't do an activity inventory. So you go through all the things you do throughout your day, like check the mail, do the dishes, do the laundry, and then you add all your things in for work. And you can go down your list and say, I'm good at this, I'm good at this, I'm good at this. And how can I focus on these three areas? And another issue that we have is business, real business is not really taught in our educational systems. We're taught to be employees. We're taught to go to school, get a job, go to college. We're not taught, here's an entrepreneurial class, or here's an entrepreneurial high school or college. I think those things are lacking in today's world. And that goes back to, that's how we can get into those unique ability areas faster.
Mm. So it seems to me that the desire to be an entrepreneur kind of usurped this desire to be a famous baseball player.
Right, right, right. I knew when I put my mind to something as a kid that I could do things. I could really achieve things. I mean, when I first went to our all-star tryout for baseball, I might have been 6 or 7 years old. I mean, it was so young, but I did terrible. I missed every pitch. I didn't field very well. And then that next year, I told my parents I wanted to practice. So I went to lessons and I just focused on those daily activities, even at a young age, to make the all-star team. And I had the best performance the next year out of all the kids, and I made the team. So I had that drive in my mind that you can accomplish what you want, however you want. And that's really the key in life.
That's pretty insightful even for a 6, 7 year old kid, because so many people will try something and they fail. They actually suck at it, as it were, and then they give up. I speak all the time, and Carol Dweck wrote a book about the growth mindset. And so people with what do you call a fixed mindset would go to the baseball trials as you did, fail and give up because they feel that that was the end of the road for them. That's all they had to offer. Whereas someone with a growth mindset, like yourself, even at 6, goes, well, you know what, I did poorly, but this is a skill. And the thing we know about skill is that you can always get better. You can improve if you work at it. And so you worked at it and you got better and made the all-star team the next year, which then reinforces this growth mindset in you, right?
Absolutely. I know that's such like a simple story of a kid, but when we're kids, the way that our brains are formed and our habits are formed are how we're taught. And my parents really supported me to play sports and be part of a team, because when you're in business, you can't do everything yourself. You have to have a team around you and great people, because again, I have my 3 to 5 things that I'm really great at, and my team complements that. And they do other great things that they're really good at. So that's really a good driver for growth, is having people in their areas that they're really, really specifically good at.
Mm-hmm. So let's talk about your foray into entrepreneurship. I'm assuming that after college, you went to become that employee, that 9 to 5 guy.
I actually did not. When I graduated from college, I went straight into the financial advising world. I started my career at Prudential. So I was really running my own business underneath the umbrella of Prudential. They're a great company. We were on the financial arm of their company. And I still talk to a lot of the people from there to this day, one of them weekly. And they were great mentors and great people to surround yourself with. And when I was 28, I spent 6 years with Prudential, and I really wanted to just branch out on my own. So when I was 28, that's when I left and started Bloom Financial, because I wanted to have a true business organization and build a business and build a brand, because I wanted to specifically work with pre-retirees and retirees to help them achieve, their goals in retirement.
Yeah, so I guess at Prudential, you weren't your employee per se, you're an independent contractor. Is that the arrangement?
Correct.
Right, cool. So you took the knowledge and the experience that you had garnered at Prudential and decided to transition into your own company.
Absolutely. And those 6+ years, they were truly a blessing, because I was surrounded by people who had been at that company for 30 and 40 years. So I was learning from some men and women who have really done it. They've walked the walk, they've talked the talk. I would go have lunch with them and ask them questions, or go on meetings with them. And I was able to learn how to do things the right way. And it was so powerful for me, because I was 22, 23 when I started. I didn't know what I was doing, but I had all these really great mentors surrounding me, and they helped me grow.
Yeah, how important is that to spend the time? We talk about you at 6 or 7, going out to go practice your baseball so you can make the all-star team. But even in business as an entrepreneur, how important is that to always be learning, always being a student?
It's critical for every single human being. And the reason for that, we need to be learning and still growing. If we're not learning, you're not growing. You really still need to be challenging your brain. Even when you get out of high school and when you get out of college, you still need to take exams, read books, study new subjects, learn a new language. You're going to grow as a human being that way. I'm perfect proof of that. I still read books to this day. I'm enjoying writing books, and that's another muscle that I'm developing in my brain. So I feel like I'm growing as a person, even though I'm in my mid-30s. My wife and I were talking about this, and I feel healthier than I did in my 20s. I feel a lot more mentally stronger now than I did in my mid-20s. So I just feel better overall. It's been a real blessing to still continue to learn.
So you're shattering the myth that the older you get, the less healthy you should be, huh?
Right. That's a choice. No one forces you to put food in your mouth. No one forces you not to exercise. Instead of a donut, eat an apple. Just little things like that. And I love donuts. Don't get me wrong. I'm a big fan, but those little choices and those little habits that we choose every day, that's what defines your life. It's those little decisions that you make. From walking around the block, start with something, do something, go for a run, go to the gym. You don't need to be there for 5 hours, but go once a week. And then the next week, maybe go twice. Just keep building up and keep pushing on, as you say, keep pushing forward and make your life better. It's all those little decisions.
So what I'm hearing you talk about, William, is discipline, because you're right. Nobody forces you to put the food to your mouth or the cigarette, to your lips. But it's those tiny little things that they start out so innocuous, but over time, as you develop that habit, right, of, whether it's having a drink once a week and it goes to twice a week, or going to the gym once a week until it goes to twice a week, 3 times a week, and so on, that after a while becomes as strong as a cable that is hard to break, and to the point you were making earlier about, just constantly learning. I was kind of smiling to myself, because when I was in high school, I was not a Rhodes Scholar, but I did some work, and I couldn't wait to finish high school because I did not want to ever see another book. And I often joke about the fact that, I knew I was going to go join the army, and I figured I was going to be running around and shooting guns and all that good stuff. And I did that. But guess what? I got tricked, Bill, because they a big stack of books. And like, go read this. I'm like, hey, that was a part of the plan. But yeah, it was an early lesson in the fact that you have to constantly be reading and learning, because that's the only way you grow, right? What you do in school is kind of like the base. What you're doing in school is learning how to learn.
Right.
And the real learning happens after you leave school, regardless of the industry or the path that you choose to take in life. So you finished college, you're working at Prudential, you decided after 6 years to start your own business for real, and it's in financial services, retirement in particular. Your favorite thing to talk about, why is that?
Because I saw, again, when I was a young child, the importance of learning about money. When I was a kid, we had no education about financials, nothing. You go through school, grade school, high school, university. I mean, you might take one class on finance if you're lucky in college, if you do go through a university, but we're not taught how money works. And that was always interesting to me. So as I got through high school, I worked 2 jobs. When I went to college, I played soccer for 4 years and I worked 2 jobs. So I wanted to learn how things could work for myself and for my future family. But that turned into developing a business to help others, because that's how passionate I became about it. And this whole phrase and the whole motto, retire as you desire, is really what gave me the confidence to go out and start my own business when I was 28. And I lost all my revenue. I lost all my clients. I couldn't work with anyone, but it was just that determination mindset and knowing that you wanted to do something that had a bigger purpose than you and go out and do it and make it happen in the world.
Yeah. And when you say you lost all your clients, what you mean is that the clients that you had, that you were working with, really belonged to Prudential. So when you left, you couldn't take those clients with you. You had to leave them behind.
Right. I had to wait 9 months and 2 years, depending on what type of business it was, for me to be able to talk to them again. So it was difficult, but it was worth it. It really made me focus and really made me just be very aware of how I was spending my time that first year. It really gave me a good drive and focus.
Mm-hmm. Bill, what do you think is, because I agree with you, we definitely don't get classes in money management. What do you think is the 1 or 2 biggest things that all of us need to learn from a very early age about money?
Number 1 would be compounding interest. So I think when you're in 5th, 6th, 7th, or 8th grade, I mean, I'm not an education professional. I think they would be the people to administer that and choose that age group, but start teaching the kids about compounding interest. So if you invest your money here, here's how much it could be in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. I mean, they'll teach them on the calculators, but teach them how money works. Because when you compound your money, you could have a better retirement. It all works together. So when you get into high school, you need to learn about debt, like a mortgage, how much interest you pay, a car loan, credit cards. All those things, if you have an education around them, it could really help you have a better financial future. Because, for instance, if you take out a $500,000 mortgage, most people don't realize how much interest they're going to pay. So if you teach these kids at a young age, it could help them, because other countries in the world, they don't have mortgages. You pay cash.
Mm-hmm.
They don't do this. And if you want to take out a mortgage, it's really expensive, very, very expensive. So we live in a different world from other countries. So it's almost a standard here. And I think we need to start teaching the opposite, is start letting your money work for you instead of borrowing all the time.
So as I hear you talk about, let's say the debt side, mortgage, credit cards, car loans and so on. What do you think is the biggest financial burden that most people live with?
Credit cards, because it's really hard to get out of credit card debt once you're being charged 25% interest every month. So I think the credit cards, because it's so easy for us to walk into a store and buy a t-shirt that we don't need, or a sweater we don't need, or a pair of shoes we don't need, or buy it on the internet and it will show up to our door tomorrow or in 2 days. So I really think that the credit card is the crux of all of this.
Because it's that revolving debt, isn't it?
Yes, Devin, absolutely. It's really hard to get out of that debt.
For those of us who are not so familiar with the term revolving debt, can you explain that to us, please?
So the way that works is you're getting charged interest, and interest is not a good thing if you're being charged it. If you're making interest, that's good. But again, there's a differentiation there.
Yeah.
But when you have revolving debt and revolving interest, you need to figure out a way to pay that off quickly, because you're getting charged money daily for some credit cards. Others are monthly, it depends how they work, but you're continuously getting charged interest. So you owe more money, and then you owe more money. How do you get out of that? It's really difficult for people to get out of those habits.
Yeah, so by the time you finish paying off for that t-shirt that you didn't really want, you'd have paid for it 2 or 3 times.
Exactly. That's perfectly said.
Unless you're buying a keep on pushing t-shirt, of course.
Those are the best.
Hey, so let's talk about retirement. What do you think is perhaps the biggest misconception that people have about retirement?
That you need to have $1 million. That's the biggest misconception. I can't tell you how many times, Devin, I've been asked that question. Like, I don't have $1 million. I can't retire yet. Is that true? Or how much money do I need to have saved to retire? And I always say, well, I don't know. It depends on your lifestyle. I mean, I work with some really great people that they live off of $3,000 to $4,000 a month, every month. And they're not extravagant. They're just simple, lovely, grateful people. And that's great. And on the other end of the spectrum, I know people that would like to have $20,000 a month of income from their investments. So that's a little harder to plan from. So when you're looking at both sides of the spectrum, you need to have a retirement income plan that's going to generate that interest, like we had just mentioned, or that cash flow for you, because everyone's so different. You and I are different from our money standpoint. My parents are different, my aunts and uncles, just as an example. So you need to have a retirement income plan before you retire, so that you can have the pieces in place, so that you can have more confidence, and so that you can retire as you desire.
How soon should someone start planning for retirement during their work life?
Well, you need to start investing as soon as possible, as soon as you start working. Even if you're in high school and you have a part-time job, you should start learning to invest. But when you're getting closer to actually retiring, there's at least a 5-year period that you should start putting pieces in place to generate that monthly income, so that, number one, you hopefully don't run out of money, because that's the number one fear of retirees. And since you still have some time before you retire, you also want to look to put some pieces in place that is going to give you the most income every single month. And increase.
When you say pieces in place, what do you mean?
I mean different types of investments that are going to generate that cash flow for you, just like a monthly paycheck. Because most people here in America are employees, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But when you're working at your job, you normally get a paycheck, twice a month? So maybe on the 1st and the 15th. And what I do for people is we create similar paychecks for them on the 1st and the 15th of the month so that their lifestyle doesn't have to change. That's the whole idea, so that they're comfortable and even potentially getting more money every month than what they were receiving during their working years. And that gives them the confidence to retire.
Yeah, I was just about to ask you about that because, retire as you desire. As you say, most people think they need $1 million in order to retire. And what it comes down to is what each person wants or the kind of lifestyle they want to live during retirement. Um, is it feasible to think that you can live, for want of a better term, a more lavish lifestyle during retirement than you did during your working years?
Absolutely. I mean, I really believe that if you're able to put those pieces in place, as we had mentioned, that can happen. And it happens for some of my clients. Some of my other clients, they don't want more of a lavish lifestyle, like that $3,000 to $4,000 a month. And that's okay. But the way that I show people how to achieve their goals is I use a retirement income planning software that shows you, it has the actual graph there, the visualization as to when you would potentially run out of money with your current plan, with what you're doing right now. So it's a very powerful tool that takes 30 to 45 minutes to really go through. It's not a lot of data. We like to keep things simple so that you can visualize with what you're doing right now, how long will your money last? Will it be to 85? Will it be up until 100? The system will show you. And then where I come into play is say, maybe we make a little adjustment here or a little adjustment there to close that income gap. And it will show you with the changes, how long your money could last for with those small adjustments. So super powerful to show you how your money could work for you. And that's my passion, is showing people how to make their money work for them.
Yeah. I think one of the challenge with retirement, Bill, is that people kind of see it as the end of the road, right? So they spend 30 to 40 years working and planning for retirement, and then they have that big party and they get the golden watch, and I think there's a part of their thinking that says, hey, this is the end of the road for me. But it's really just the beginning of perhaps the third phase of their life, isn't it?
It really is. Because if you retire at 60 or 65, there's a pretty high probability that you or a husband and wife or one of your partners would live until your 90s. I mean, there's a 25% chance that one of you would live until your early 90s. And we plan for that. We need a plan for people living to at least 100. There was a book that I read during this pandemic. It's called Lifespan by Dr. Sinclair from Harvard. He's their lead doctor about longevity. And he's forecasting that in the next 20 to 30 years, we're going to be living into our 120s and 130s. So think about that. Mm-hmm. So if you retire at 60, you could only have lived, potentially half of your life. So we need to be thinking super long term. And most people can't think about 1 week from now, let alone 60 years from now.
Yeah. That's pretty interesting, the possibility of living until you're 120. But you're right, definitely, science, medical science in particular has advanced to the point where, once upon a time, you were lucky if you lived to 60. Now, if you pass away at 60 or 70, people are like, wow, he or she was still young. Yeah. And so to go back to a point you made earlier, it's really important to ensure that you don't run out of money during retirement. So that comes down to the planning, correct?
It does, and where you invest your money and how you invest your money. Because timing is super important. It's very, very important. But also your risk tolerance. And we address all those things when we go through that retirement income plan. But yes, you need to plan for longevity. You definitely do. Because you're going to have typically, and I didn't create this, but I love sharing this, is you have the three different phases typically in retirement. You have your go-go years. That's when you get the big party, your golden watch, right? And you sail off into the sunset. But that's when you want to travel and take the kids to Disney World or buy your RV and travel our beautiful country or take that Alaskan cruise. You know, you still hopefully have your health and your knees and your hips and you can get around. You know, being athlete, it's not easy. Because as you get older, you know, your back starts to hurt a little bit. You need to do your push-ups like you told me, like
Right.
train ourselves. And then you have the next phase, which is called those slow go years. The slow go years. That's when you're still traveling a little bit, but you might take a cruise instead of a hiking trip because you can't climb up the mountain anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Body's hurt. And then you have the next phase is the no-go years where you're not spending as much money, you're not traveling. And that's where maybe your health is changing a little bit, or you just want to stay at home. You've seen all the places that you want to go, but you generally have these different phases in retirement that people go through.
Yeah, you know, you're talking about the slow go years, and sometimes I wake up in the morning, I feel I'm already there. My knees won't climb these mountains or these stairs today, but I'll keep doing my push-ups. But you touch on you use an important word there, risk tolerance, because that's one of the issues I think that prevents people from taking the actions necessary to properly plan for retirement. And I think it speaks to the larger aspects of our lives that, you know, as human beings, we tend to be risk averse. How do you get people past that hurdle?
Well, here's the facts. You're taking the risk either way. So if you don't take risk and you don't put money away and you don't save money, that's a risk because you're hoping that the government will take care of you. The other side of the coin is if you do take the risk and you do invest the money and put money away, and if you do things consistently and you sort of automate things so that you don't have to think about it and get in your own way, you could be in a much better financial position. So in my eyes, either way, you're taking a risk. If you want to go out and start a business, it's okay to do that. We only have one shot at life. You need to enjoy it and you need to take those opportunities when they come because you don't want to regret these things in life. If you get to 70 years old and you haven't saved money, you say to yourself, man, I really wish I would have done that. So that's a risk in and of itself. So I think being able to put money away, buy some great stocks and some great bonds for some wonderful companies, you're going to be in a better financial position. That's what should happen.
Yeah, so life is a risky proposition, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Every day. I mean, you need to make choices when it comes down to exercising, learning, what you're eating, how you're thinking. I mean, really how you're thinking and how do you think about the world and how do you think about life and who are you surrounding yourself with? Are you saving money? Are you spending all your money? Are you thinking 5 years out, 10 years out, 20 years out? Do you slow down and take time off from work? Are you resting your body? We need that. So all these things go hand in hand, but it all starts with choices every day.
Yeah, thinking, it's, you know, you touch on an important point because, you know, although we're talking about money, is really, money is an integral part of our lives. And the way we think, whether we have, as you so ably demonstrated earlier in the story about you playing baseball, a growth mindset versus a fixed mindset, whether you have an abundance mindset, this idea that there are lots of opportunities out there that you can take advantage of versus a scarcity mindset. All of that impacts the quality of the life you're living in the present, but obviously impacts the quality of the life you will live in the future, to include retirement.
Absolutely. If you have that abundance mindset, I mean, we live in a very abundant country. You really, really do. And a lot of countries across the world are like that, where we have access to things that we need. We have the water, we have the food, we have, you know, same day delivery, next day delivery. We could have our groceries sent to us. I mean, we really live in a very comfortable time compared to history. If we even look 100 years ago, life was a lot harder. I mean, I think about this because my wife and I have a 14-month-old, and we have all the gadgets, we have the things to help like make sure he's doing well and sleeping well at night, and we have the camera. Like, these things weren't around 100 years ago. Life is a lot easier now, but we're more stressed out than ever because we
Mhm.
always feel like we need to be connected, and we're on our phones and our computers. If we're able to detach from that and let your brain think and let your brain have these positive thoughts, and that's where your exercising and the learning comes into play. Because when you're making progress and when you keep pushing forward, that's when you're going to be happy, is when you're going towards something, when you're striving for something. And even when you get there, it might not be the most exciting thing in the world, but you're going to grow as a human being during that process because you're making progress.
Yeah. You know, and so someone will say, you know, Devon, Bill, you guys don't understand. I hear you about, you know, mindset, growth mindset, having an abundance mindset. But my reality today is that I'm practically living hand to mouth. I have a 9 to 5. My income is fixed. And you know, things aren't getting cheaper, although I live in the most abundant, richest country in the world, in the history of the world. So how do we get help someone to get past that, Bill?
I love this question. This is so important. It comes down to, would you rather go buy 3 cups of coffee at a cafe or whatever company you go to, or are you going to buy a book with that same $10 or $15? It starts with action. And I think it starts with learning, especially if you live in the countryside and you have a fixed income. That's okay. But we still have the internet, and we have access to people all across the world. You could sell a product to someone in a completely different country. You know, the post office or one of the shipping companies can come pick it up at your door. I really think it comes down to how you're spending your time outside of work. You could have a side hustle, a side business, and instead of watching TV at night, start a side business. What are you passionate about? That's what it comes down to. The resourceful people who actually want to see change, they'll make that happen. But it has to become a choice, saying, I'm done watching TV. I'm going to start something. And if it doesn't perform well, you're still going to learn new habits throughout that time. You're going to learn new things. It's going to give you even newer ideas down the road that you can make progress towards. So I think it comes down to your time management. Instead of sitting down on the couch, watching TV or having a drink or whatever it is, focus your time elsewhere and learn a new hobby. It can happen.
Yeah, resources. You use the word resources, and I speak about resource fullness. I think that's something that Anthony Robbins teaches as well, and it is that, hey, yeah, we all need resources. You know, we need money, we need time, we need support from others, etc., etc. But more importantly, you need that thing that is inside of you, the resourcefulness. You know, to, as you say, figure out those 3 things that you are good at, and then, here we go again. You keep talking about this learning thing, man. But you know, it's like there's no way around it, because if you are in a particular situation, a predicament, a 9 to 5 with a fixed income, and you want to have a better life, you have to go learn get some new knowledge and learn and develop some new skills in order to change your situation, which can only come from inside. And so it might mean giving up that extra cup of coffee for now, so that you can earn enough money to go buy your own coffee store later.
Exactly, exactly. It's making that sacrifice now of a few dollars to give you that confidence and give you those new abilities to be able to do the things you want to do for the rest of your life.
Yeah, yeah. To retire as you desire, as you say, Bill. Hey, if someone wanted to connect with you, to get some more advice on how to manage their money now and hence put them on the path to retire as they desire, where do they find you?
So thank you for asking. Our company's website is www.bloomfinancialco.com. We're based here in Chicago, Illinois, but we could work with people all across the United States. And my email is bill@bloomfinancial.us.
All right, cool. So that's where you find the man. If you want to retire as you desire, you need to contact Bill Bloom right there in Chicago. Bill, this has been enlightening, man. It's one of those, money is one of those things that none of us get any instructions on, as you mentioned earlier, but it's such an integral part of our lives. And as we strive to live longer and healthier lives, it goes without saying that we're going to need money to support ourselves and that lifestyle. So thank you so much for spending time with us, sharing your wisdom, your expertise, and your knowledge on a really important subject. Thanks for joining us, and keep on pushing.
It's been my pleasure. Thank you so much.
Hey guys, if you enjoyed this, please leave a comment below. Please hit that subscribe button if you haven't done so yet, and hit the notification bell as well. You'll get a notification every time we post one of these amazing videos. And most importantly, or just as importantly, make sure you share it. Share it with your friends, man. They want to be inspired. They want to be in the know as well. So share it. Don't keep it. Thanks for joining us here, and keep on pushing. Thanks for watching. If you haven't done so yet, make sure you click on that subscribe button and hit that bell. You'll get a notification every time we post a new video. And don't forget, share it with your friends, man. They want to be inspired as well, right? So share it. Don't keep it. And before you go on to the next video, visit my website, www.devonharris.com. Keep on pushing.